Hi, this is Kathleen from Bailey Academy, mom of five, homeschooling three of them, ages 10, 13, and 17. Today I want to talk about how to do local history with your kids. I will be sharing what we are doing for this month and next month for local history. When I mean local history, I mean our province, but more so our city and our neighborhood. Because everybody lives in a different area, and I'm not going to specify exactly where I live, we are not going to share specific books and resources to use, but more generic ideas that you can put together yourself. So, for starters, I simply looked online at my local library for books from our city and our neighborhood and put a whole bunch on hold. And then when I went to go pick them up, I flipped through them real quick to see if it was something completely unusable and just left it at the library, or if it was actually seemed like it might be helpful, and I brought it home. So I got books on the history of our neighborhood, books that show photos of our city, books that show specific, like photos of a specific uh, place in our city, history on certain group of people in our city, all kinds of stuff. Most of them were made for older people, but a lot of them had lots of pictures and other things that we can use, even if we aren't going to read it like a textbook, for example. I apologize if you can hear all the lawn mowing and weed whacking in the background. So, I started off with that for resources. Then I scoured YouTube for documentaries, and it was really hard to find because for local history, especially if you're not in like a well-known city or area of your state or province or wherever you live, you need to find the lesser known people. You're not going to find necessarily, I mean, you might, but you may not find a well-known news outlet having a documentary about your city or neighborhood, but you may find a person who lives in your city who did a documentary on their own with their own film crew, their own camera, and posted it on YouTube. But of course, some of them are not any good. Some of them are only 2 minutes long. So you need to go through them, watch them, and bookmark or save the ones that you want to use to your watch list or to your computer or however you prefer to do things. So I found a bunch of those ones that show important places in our city being built, both past and a current thing being built, showing that. I found including like drone riding around and showing drone shots of these places so you can get like as if they were up high, which is kind of cool. I found interviews with people from past in our city from past events like that happened, talking about, like, for example, you can learn about the Great Depression in our city by seeing a documentary of people who were alive during the Great Depression, things like that. So I put a whole bunch of those on hold. On and save. And then I came up with my own ideas. So for starters, what we're going to do is I'm going to ask them, what do they know about our city? Do they know its population? Do they know where we're located on the map? I should hope so. My kids are older. But do they know what I can never say this right, but a demonym, I don't know how you say it. The word for somebody who lives in your city, for example, and someone who lives in New York is a New Yorker. That's their demonym, or however you pronounce that word. So what do they know what it's called, somebody who lives in your city? And a lot of them are well known if you're in one of the bigger areas, but if nobody uses that term in your neighborhood or your area, they may not know it. Or if they're younger, they may not know it. So see what they know about your city. And then I looked online. I know Wikipedia in general is not a reliable source, but I started with that, and I know enough about my city to know if it's like way off. And so we're going to go over that. Oh, everything's getting really loud behind me. We're going to go over that, and they're going to jot down. My one child's going to type because she most likely has dysgraphia. So she was given a computer to type on. So she's going to type her answers. The other one's going to write his answers, and they're going to jot down all the information like a fact sheet. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. Neighbors weed whacking next door. And then so that's our first activity. Our second activity is going to be, I went to my city's website and I printed off a map of our city so that they can see, what shape is your city, how big is it, and kind of like be like, you are here. So they can put a little dot on where we are and kind of see, like, are we in the middle of our city? Are we on the right, left, north, south, east, west of our city? Are we in the, like, really close to all the outskirts, or is we like smack dab in the middle and nowhere near, that kind of thing. And then I also found, I don't know if it's like this where you live, but here where we live, there's different neighborhood names, but there's also different wards. It has to do with, maybe a Canadian thing, has to do with our government. So in your ward, when you do elections, you do elections for your ward, or something like that anyway. So our ward, I chose our ward number, and I printed off a map from the website of our specific ward, which is essentially our neighborhood but a little bigger. And so we're going to, I printed off 3 copies, so 2 for the 2 younger kids and 1 for me. And I marked off, like, this is the Tim Hortons we go to, this is the school you used to go to, this is the school your sister goes to, this is the parks that you know of, this is where, your uncle's house is, that sort of thing. And then, so I'm going to point it out on the map, and they're going to copy it up to their map, so they can kind of do some map work, which is great. Geography as well, because of course history and geography kind of go hand in hand sometimes. And they're going to be able to identify where in their neighborhood, because ideally we would go for a walk in our neighborhood, but that's not something I'm physically able to do. So at least they can kind of start identifying, when we go in the car, when we go this way, that's this street, and we go this way, it's going towards, grandma's house, but that's out of our neighborhood, that sort of thing, whatever. That's what I have so far, but I'm just sort of like throwing things together on my own. So I have lots of books. We're going to spend some time swapping books, finding cool things to share with each other. We're going to do for art, we have a sculpture garden that's by the river, and so I have a book that shows the different sculptures and explains what the history behind them. We could go, again, if I could walk, we could go and walk down the river and see them all, but it is pretty far, and I'm not able to do that, so this way we can see all the different sculptures and get some history behind it as well. And we can do it rain or shine, so that's helpful. And then someday when they are able to go down there, they'll be like, oh, I learned about this sculpture, it means this, or it was made by this person. Sorry. I'm still coming up with ideas, so I'm interested if you have any ideas, if you've ever done local history. I know a lot of Americans do state history, and we can do, provincial history, but I want it to be more specific to our neighborhood. Our neighborhood has a large and interesting history, and so we're going to tour different parts of our neighborhood within reason of what I can do, and we're going to learn more about the history of the person who created our neighborhood, which was a city of its own at the time, or a town of its own, I should say. And we're going to there's lots of different places in our city, but I'm going to pick a spot where we can do a actual real tour that I can manage to get to, and we'll do a tour before the end of the 2 months is up. But we will use the books a lot and watch a lot of the documentaries and just discuss things that we learn and share with each other, and I think that will make for a very interesting local history study. If you are doing local history and you can move around better than me, then I bet there are lots of places in your city or town that you can go to. Every city has those places that you can go to, places that are in a historical, like a historical background, historical site. You might have local museums, that sort of thing. So I'm sure you could come up with lots of places that you could go. And even checking out local parks and things like that count as local history. If you find out, read the little placards about who created the park and why, or who was named after, that sort of thing. Learning about past, I'm sorry, I have trouble talking. Past, famous people, that's it. Famous people who were born in your city, whether they still live there or not, or lived there the whole life, or just moved away because it became famous, still helpful. So we're going to learn from music about a musician who was born in our city. And basically I'm just going to throw things together as I find them. Anything I can do to make it interesting, and if they come up with ideas or thoughts or questions, we'll pursue that line of inquiry and find out more. Like every city has nicknames, so might be the city of this, or the something city, or the town of that, or whatnot. So find out, why was it named that? There's a reason. Sometimes the name of our city, the nickname of our city doesn't really apply anymore. So you might hear this city name and be like, why is your city called this? And so we're going to learn about what the history of that was and why it was called that. I think that's all I can think of at the moment. Like I said, if you have great ideas, let me know in the comments that are specific, not specific to a certain place. Sorry. But I just think that local history is very important, and it's important. Sure, it's important to know about the wars, the world wars, and, you know, if you're in America, the American Revolution, or, you know, things like that. For some reason, I can't think of the Canadian equivalent at the moment. But it's important. But so is knowing your local history, especially if you've lived there your whole life. If you move and travel a lot, maybe it's less important. But if you're in one place to stay, I would suggest that you learn more about your local history. So that's it for today. I will talk to you later. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below. I love to see comments. Thanks. Bye.